I'm Chris Walker at the International Forum for Democratic Studies. Welcome to another edition of Democracy Ideas. I'm delighted to have with us today Lilia Shevtsova, who's going to speak with us about recent developments in Russia. Lilia, thanks so much for joining us.
Chris, thank you for having me.
Lilia, you've indicated that Russia's system is undergoing a process of transformation. Could you give us a sense of what are the most important elements of this transformational change?
Well, Russian political regime is trying desperately, is trying hard to adapt to the new reality and to the new domestic and international challenges, and having no ability or readiness to modernize itself, the top-down government. The political leadership decided to return back. And before today, they've been trying, to rule Russia by imitating liberal democracy, liberal democratic values, system, and in general. Now there is another premise for the Russian political system. They try to contain the West. They try to return back into the past in order to revive all Russian traditional myths, stereotypes, and also mechanisms of rule.
And you've also suggested that the change in Russia is one that's based on this idea of civilizational uniqueness. Can you describe to us what this idea means?
Before, let's say 2013, there was an old premise for Putin's team. On the basis of this premise, they ruled the country. We are just like you. We are just like the West. We are, nearly liberal democracy. But now, today, their premise is Russia is a unique state civilization which is based, firstly, on the important role of the Orthodox Church, secondly, on the role of the state. State is the dominance, and individual or people have to be subjugated to the state. And thirdly, traditional morality, which means total rejection of any tolerance.
And what's most important for the outside world to understand about this idea of the unique civilization in Russia?
Well, you mentioned a very important side of this civilization, and this side is international and regional. Because comparing to other authoritarian states, Russian matrix, Russia as personalized power system, exists by trying to expand, by trying to have impact outside, by trying to return to the idea of Eurasia. That means Russia in the middle, Russia as a kind of, galaxy that will include Russia in the middle, and at the same time, galaxy of dependent states. And at the same time, there is a second element. Russia's foreign policy has to be the element of serving the domestic agenda. And what is the domestic agenda? It's containment of the West.
And what's your sense of just how sustainable the idea of this new model is?
Well, if you return to history, if you read once again Political Order by Francis Fukuyama, you'll understand that apparently Russia has ended the period of more or less stable status quo and entered a new period of agony. True, agony could continue for a long time, but hardly the system is sustainable. It has two options to develop. One option is further degradation, demoralization, and rot, and gradual maybe fragmentation of the state and society fabric. And the second option is crisis. Crisis probably is the best solution for Russia, because crisis gives opportunity to revive forces of change and dynamism.
And Lilia, finally, in your view, what is the greatest misapprehension that the outside world has of Russia today, and how should the outside world understand the changes that the country is undergoing?
Well, we Russians are mistaken about Russia, but when we are talking about the West, for instance, it seems to me that the West and outside world underestimated the possibility of revival of Russian exceptionalism, of Russia's expansionism, and of Russia's ability to make damage to the outside world and try to break the rules of the game.
Lilia Shevtsova, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.